The trail is crowded. A family is taking photos beside the trees. A couple passes in the opposite direction. Somewhere ahead, you can hear children laughing. And less than 100 yards away, something is moving through the forest. You probably won't hear it. You may never see it. But in the Great Smoky Mountains, that doesn't mean it isn't there. More than 11 million people visited this park in 2025. They come for waterfalls, mountain views, campsites, and hundreds of miles of trails cutting straight through one of the wildest forests in Eastern America. But those trails aren't corridors through empty wilderness. They cross hunting grounds. They pass feeding areas. They run beside streams, through thick undergrowth, and directly through places predators use every night. And some of the animals hiding here are much closer to hikers than most people realize, starting with one that almost nobody thinks of as a predator. Number 9, the raccoon. At a campsite after dark, the first warning may be nothing more than a sound. A plastic bag moving, a cooler lid shifting, something scratching near the picnic table. Then, 2 eyes reflect back from your flashlight. Raccoons have learned that humans often bring food with them, and that can make campgrounds unusually attractive. Usually the animal runs. The danger begins when it doesn't. A raccoon that has lost its fear of people can become unpredictable, especially if cornered. And because raccoons can carry diseases including rabies, the bite of an animal small enough to look almost harmless can become a medical emergency. But deeper into the Smokies, there is another predator most visitors would never expect to fear. Number 8, the river otter. Seeing one usually feels like a lucky moment. An otter surfaces in a mountain stream, disappears beneath the water, then reappears farther downstream. They look playful, and most of the time, they want absolutely nothing to do with you. But river otters are not oversized pets. They are muscular predators, armed with sharp teeth, built to chase and overpower prey underwater. The National Park Service successfully reintroduced them to the Smokies after they had disappeared from the region. Today, hikers near rivers can once again enter their territory without realizing it. And that is a theme you'll see again and again here. The animals are usually trying to avoid us. The problem begins when the distance disappears. Number 7 is waiting even lower to the ground. The snapping turtle. Imagine stepping around a muddy section of trail and seeing what looks like a dark rock beside the water. Then the rock moves. Snapping turtles spend much of their lives underwater, where they generally avoid people. But on land, especially when they feel trapped, their personality changes. They cannot retreat into their shells as effectively as many other turtles. So instead, they defend the part of their body facing the threat. Their jaws. Get too close, try to pick one up, or put your hands where you cannot clearly see them. And an animal that seemed almost prehistoric and motionless can strike surprisingly fast. But there are predators in these mountains that you are even less likely to see. Number 6, the bobcat. You could hike through bobcat territory for years and never know it. That is exactly what makes them so fascinating. They move quietly, often around dawn, dusk, or at night. Their spotted coats disappear into broken forest light, and they can sit almost completely still while watching something pass nearby. That something is normally a rabbit, rodent, or other small animal. Humans are not prey. Actual attacks are extraordinarily unusual. But picture what that means for a hiker walking alone near sunset. The forest goes quiet. Something moves through the brush. You turn. Nothing. And there may genuinely have been a wildcat standing there seconds earlier. The next animal is more willing to let you know it exists. Number 5, the coyote. A howl in the Smokies can sound much farther away than it really is. One call becomes another. Then another answers from somewhere across the valley. Coyotes are now part of the mountain ecosystem, hunting rodents and other animals across terrain also used by hikers and campers. For an adult human, a normal wild coyote is not something that should send you sprinting down the trail. But food changes wildlife. When people feed animals, Deliberately or accidentally, distance can disappear. A predator that normally watches from the tree line learns that humans mean opportunity. And once wild animals stop treating people like something to avoid, encounters become far harder to predict. But the next animal does not need to learn anything from humans to become dangerous. Number 4, the wild hog. You hear the leaves first. Something heavy is moving on the hillside. Then a dark body appears between the trees. Wild hogs do not belong here. Their history in the Smokies traces partly to European wild boars brought into the region in the early 20th century. Over time, their descendants spread through the mountains. They tear through forest floors looking for food, sometimes leaving areas that appear almost plowed. And unlike most of the predators on this list, a hog can turn a surprise encounter into a very physical problem. They are heavy, fast, and powerful. A frightened animal with nowhere to escape is not something you want charging through dense forest toward you, especially when you cannot move as quickly as it can. But some dangers in the Smokies weigh only a few pounds, or less. Number 3, the northern copperhead. There is a reason this snake works so well in these forests. Look at a floor covered with brown leaves. Now imagine trying to spot a brown patterned snake lying completely still among them. That camouflage can be almost perfect. Copperheads are one of only 2 venomous snake species found in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. They are not waiting beside trails hoping a hiker walks past. In fact, bites inside the park are rare. But hikers place their feet and hands into hidden spaces constantly, stepping over logs, climbing rocks, reaching beside roots, sitting down without checking the ground. And a snake does not need to hunt you to hurt you. It only needs to believe you are about to hurt it. Then there is the second venomous snake, and this one can be considerably larger. Number 2, the timber rattlesnake. Sometimes you hear the warning before you find the animal. A dry buzzing sound somewhere near your boots. You stop. Now comes the frightening part, finding where it came from. Timber rattlesnakes can blend into leaves, rocks, and fallen timber so effectively that the sound may seem to come from the forest itself. Their venom makes them one of the animals on this list that deserves genuine respect. But the Smokies have an important statistic that tells another side of the story. The National Park Service says no fatal snakebite has ever been reported inside the park. That matters. Because the Smokies are wild, but they are not a horror movie. These animals do not spend their days trying to kill hikers. Most dangerous encounters begin because a person gets too close, surprises an animal, leaves food accessible, or mistakes calm behavior for safe behavior. And nowhere is that mistake more important than with number 1, the American black bear. There are more than 1,900 black bears in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Average that across the park, and it works out to roughly 2 bears per square mile. You will probably never know how many have been near you. A bear can hear and smell you long before you detect it. Usually that means it disappears, but sometimes it doesn't. Maybe there is food nearby, maybe cubs are close, maybe the animal has spent too much time around people. Or maybe you turn a corner and suddenly realize the dark shape beside the trail is not a stump. This is where people make dangerous mistakes. They move closer for a photograph. They block the bear's escape. They assume that because it is not charged, it must be comfortable. The park requires visitors to stay at least 50 yards away from bears, and that distance tells you something important. You are not visiting a giant outdoor zoo. You are walking through bear habitat. The trails belong to hikers for a few hours. The forest belongs to the animals every night. And perhaps that is the strangest thing about the Smoky Mountains. Millions of people can walk through these forests every year, while most of the predators around them remain almost completely invisible. A bobcat watches and disappears. A copperhead never moves. A coyote waits until darkness. A bear smells you coming and quietly walks away. Most encounters never happen because the animal chooses not to let them happen. So when a Smoky Mountain trail feels empty, Remember what that actually means. You may be alone with other hikers, but you are almost never alone in the forest.